Hi Little Mead, thank you for joining me again for story time, or thank you for joining me for the first time. I'm reading one of my favourite stories and I began reading it to year 6, but unfortunately we haven't got to the end yet. I'm going to be starting again. It's the story about this little boy here called Fudge and his older brother Peter, and there's 4 stories about Peter and Fudge. This is the first one. It's called Tales of a 4th Grade Nothing. Now it's 4th grade because it's set in America and they call them grades instead of years. But I think 4th grade is more equivalent to our 5th year. They don't quite match up with English school years. There's a year 5 sticker on it. It's going to have a silver star because I've bought some of these, or the school has bought some of these, and they're going to be going in the year 5 classrooms, the whole set of them. There's some more on the back there, can you see? So, it's written by Judy Blume, great author. She's written lots of stories for children your age. And I'm going to have a go at my American accent. It might come and go, I apologise, but it is an American story and I'll try my best. So enjoy. I'll read a few chapters today, a few chapters tomorrow, and then carry on next week. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1 of Tales of a 4th Grade Nothing. I won dribble at Jimmy Fargo's birthday party. All the other guys got to take home goldfish in little plastic bags. I won him because I guessed there were 348 jelly beans in Mrs. Fargo's jar. Really, there were 423, she told us later, but still, my guess was the closest. Peter Warren Hatcher is the big winner, Mrs. Fargo announced. At first I felt bad that he didn't get a goldfish too. Then Jimmy handed me a glass bowl. Inside there was some water and 3 rocks, and a tiny green turtle was sleeping on the biggest rock. All the other guys looked at their goldfish. I knew what they were thinking. They wished they could have tiny green turtles too. I named my turtle Dribble while I was walking home from Jimmy's party. I live at 25 West 68th Street. It's an old apartment building, but it's got one of the best elevators in New York City. There are mirrors all around. You can see yourself from every angle. There's a soft cushioned bench to sit on if you're too tired to stand. And the elevator operator's name is Henry Belvenheimer. Oh, he lets us call him Henry because Belvenheimer is hard to say. Our apartment's on the 12th floor, but I don't have to tell Henry. He already knows. He knows everybody in the building. He's that smart. He even knows I'm 9 and in 4th grade. I showed him Dribble right away. I won him at a birthday party, I said. Henry smiled. Your mother's gonna be surprised. There's a tiny picture of the turtle at the bottom there. Let's see. Whoa. Henry was right. My mother was really surprised. Her mouth opened when I said, Just look at what I won at Jimmy Fargo's birthday party. I held up my tiny green turtle. I've already named him Dribble. Isn't that a great name for a turtle? My mom made a face. I don't like the way he smells, she said. What do you mean? I asked. I put my nose right down close to him. I didn't smell anything but turtle. So, Dribble smells like a turtle, I thought. He's supposed to. That's what he is. And I'm not going to take care of him either, my mom added. Of course you're not, I told her. He's my turtle, and I'm the one who's going to take care of him. You're going to change his water, clean out his bowl, feed him, and all of that? She asked. Yeah, I said. Even more, I'm going to see to it that he's happy. This time my mom made a funny noise, like a groan. I went into my bedroom. I put Dribble on top of my dresser. I tried to pet him and tell him he'd be happy living with me, but it isn't easy to pet a turtle. They aren't soft and furry and they don't lick you or anything. Still, I had my very own pet at last. Later, when I sat down at the dinner table, my mother said, I smell turtle, Peter. Go and scrub your hands. Now, some people might think that my mother is my biggest problem. She doesn't like turtles. She's always telling me to scrub my hands. And that doesn't mean just run them under the water. Scrub means I'm supposed to use soap and rub my hands together. Then I gotta rinse and dry them. I ought to know by now. I've heard it enough. But my mother isn't my biggest problem. Neither is my father. He spends a lot of time watching commercials on TV. That's because he's in the advertising business. These days, his favorite commercial, so commercial isn't an advert, his favorite commercial is the one about Juicio. He wrote it himself. And the president of the Juicio company liked it so much, he sent my father a whole crate of Juicio for our family to drink. It tastes like a combination of oranges, pineapples, grapefruits, pears, and bananas. If you want to know the truth, I'm getting pretty sick of drinking it. But Juicio isn't my biggest problem either. My biggest problem is my brother, Farley Drexel Hatcher. He's 2.5 years old, and everybody calls him Fudge. I feel sorry for him if he's going to grow up with a name like Fudge, but I don't say a word. None of my business. Fudge is always in my way. He messes up everything he sees. And when he gets mad, he throws himself flat on the floor and he screams, and he kicks, and he bangs his fists. The only time I really like him is when he's sleeping. He sucks 4 fingers on his left hand and makes a slurping noise. When Fudge saw Dribble, he said, "Ooh, see?" And I said, "That's my turtle. Get it? Mine. You don't touch him." Fudge said, "No touch." And then he laughed like crazy. Chapter 2. Mr. and Mrs. Juicio. One night, my father came home from the office all excited. He told us Mr. and Mrs. Yarby were coming to New York. He's the president of the Juicio company. He lives in Chicago. I wondered if he'd bring my father another crate of Juicio. If he did, I'd probably be drinking it for the rest of my life. Just thinking about it was enough to make my stomach hurt. My father said he invited Mr. and Mrs. Yarby to stay with us. My mother wanted to know why they couldn't stay at a hotel, like most people who come to New York. My father said they could, but he didn't want them to. He thought they'd be more comfortable staying with us. My mom said that was about the silliest thing she'd ever heard. But she fixed up Fudge's bedroom for our guests. She put fancy sheets and a brand new blanket on a hide-a-bed. That's a sofa that opens up into a bed at night. It's in Fudge's room because that used to be our den. Before he was born, we watched TV in there. And lots of times Grandma slept over on the hide-a-bed. Now we watch TV in the living room, and Grandma doesn't sleep over very often. My mom moved Fudge's crib into my room. He's going to get a regular bed when he's 3, my mom says. There are a lot of reasons I don't like to sleep in the same room as Fudge. I found that out 2 months ago when my bedroom was being painted. I had to sleep in Fudge's room for 3 nights because the paint smell made me cough. For one thing, he talks in his sleep. And if a person did know better, a person could get scared. Another thing is that slurping noise he makes. Now, it's true, I like to hear it when I'm awake, but when I'm trying to fall asleep, I like things very quiet. When I complained about having to sleep with Fudge, my mom said, "It's just for 2 nights, Peter." "I'll sleep in the living room," I suggested, "on the sofa or even a chair." "No," my mother said, "you will sleep in your bedroom in your own bed." There was no point arguing. Mom wasn't going to change her mind. She spent the day in the kitchen. She really cooked up a storm. She used so many pots and pans, Fudge didn't have any left to bang together. And that's one of his favorite pastimes, banging pots and pans together. A person can get an awful headache listening to that racket. Now, right after lunch, my mom opened up the dinner table. We don't have a separate dining room. When we have company for dinner, we eat in one end of the living room. When Mom finished setting the table, she put a silver bowl filled with flowers right in the middle. I said, "Hey, Mom, looks like you're expecting the president or something." "You're very funny, Peter," my mother answered. Now, sometimes my mom laughs like crazy at my jokes. Other times she pretends not to get them. And then there are times when I know she gets them, but she doesn't seem to like them. This was one of those times, so I decided no more jokes until after dinner. I went to Jimmy Fargo's for the afternoon. I came home at 4 o'clock, and I found my mother standing over the dinner table, mumbling. Fudge was on the floor playing with my father's socks. I'm not sure why Fudge likes socks so much, but if you give him a few pairs, he'll play quietly for an hour. I said, "Hi, Mom. I'm home." "I'm missing 2 flowers," my mother said. I don't know how she noticed that 2 flowers were missing from her silver bowl, because there were at least a dozen of them left. But sure enough, when I checked, I saw 2 stems, but nothing on them. "Oh, don't look at me, Mom," I said. "What would I do with 2 measly flowers?" So we both looked at Fudge. "Did you take Mommy's pretty flowers?" my mother asked him. "No take," Fudge said. He was chewing on something. "What's in your mouth?" my mother asked. Fudge didn't answer. "Show Mommy." "No show," Fudge said. Oh, yes. My mother picked him up and forced his mouth open. She fished out a rose petal. "What did you do with Mommy's flowers?" She raised her voice. She was getting really upset. Fudge laughed. "Tell Mommy."
"Yum," Fudge said. "Yummy, yummy, yummy, yummy."
"Oh, no," my mother cried, rushing to the telephone. She called Dr. Cone. She told him that Fudge ate 2 flowers. Dr. Cone must have asked what kind, because my mom said, roses, I think, but I can't be sure. One might have been a daisy. There was a long pause while my mother listened to whatever Dr. Cone had to say. Then Mom said, "Thank you, Dr. Cone," and she hung up. "No more flowers," she told Fudge. "You understand?"
"No more,"
Fudge repeated. "No more, no more, no more." My mom gave him a spoonful of peppermint-flavored medicine, the kind I take when I have stomach pains, and she carried Fudge off to have his bath. Leave it to my brother to eat flowers. I wondered how they tasted. Maybe they're delicious, and I don't know it because I've never tasted one, I thought. I decided to find out. I picked off 1 petal from a pink rose. I put it in my mouth and tried to chew it up. I couldn't do it. It tasted awful. I spat it out in the rubbish bin. Well, at least now I knew I wasn't missing anything great. Fudge ate his supper in the kitchen before our company arrived. While he was eating, I heard my mom remind him, "Fudgy's gonna be a good boy tonight. Very good for Daddy's friends."
"Good," Fudge said. "Good boy."
"That's right," my mother told him. I changed, scrubbed up while Fudge finished his supper. I was going to eat with the company. Being 9 has its advantages. My mom was all dressed up by the time my father got home with the Yarbys. You'd never have guessed that Mom spent most of the day in the kitchen. You'd also never guessed that Fudge ate 2 flowers. He was feeling fine. He even smelled nice, like baby powder. Mrs. Yarby picked him up right away. I knew she would. She looked like a grandmother. That type always makes a big deal out of Fudge. She walked into the living room cuddling him. Then she sat down on the sofa and bounced Fudge around on her lap.
"Oh, isn't he the cutest little boy?"
Mrs. Yarby said.
"I just love babies."
She gave him a big kiss on the top of his head. I kept waiting for somebody to tell her Fudge was no baby, but no one did. My father carried the Yarby's suitcase into Fudge's room, and when he came back, he introduced me to our company. "This is our older son, Peter," he said to the Yarbys. "I'm 9 and in 4th grade, I told them. "How do, Peter?" Mr. Yarby said. Mrs. Yarby just gave me a nod. She was still busy with Fudge. "Oh, I have a surprise for this dear little boy," she said. "It's in my suitcase. Should I go get it?"
"Yeah," Fudge shouted. "Go get it, go get it."
Mrs. Yarby laughed as if it was the best joke she'd ever heard. "I'll be right back," she told Fudge, and she put him down and ran off to find her suitcase. She came back carrying a present tied up with a red ribbon. We're going to stop there. And those of you in Year 6 might remember that the giving of presents doesn't go too well. There's going to be trouble. I'll carry on reading this tomorrow. Bye.